The 7th episode of Andor gave us the latest appearance of Colonel Wullf Yularen in the Imperial Security Bureau. Many fans will recognize him already, but in case you didn't, he first appeared as a background character in A New Hope. He was eventually named in the customizable card game in 1995, and since then has continued to appear in Star Wars media. So today I'm going to run through his story so far and explain why his brief appearance is important to Andor. Yularen started his military career in the Republic Navy, where he rose to the rank of Admiral. When the Clone Wars began, he served much of the conflict on the Venator-class Star Destroyer Resolute, the flagship of Jedi General Anakin Skywalker. Near the end of the war, he sat on the prosecution against Skywalker's Padawan Ahsoka Tano in a trial where she had been framed for a terrorist attack against the Jedi Temple. Her name was cleared and the true attacker unmasked. Despite his role in the trial and the eventual destruction of the Resolute, Yularen continued serving alongside Skywalker until the end of the Clone Wars. After the Republic transitioned into the Empire, he remained in the Navy as an admiral, but he ultimately resigned in favor of a career in the Imperial Security Bureau, where he was granted the rank of colonel. He had a hand in training agents like Alexander Kallus, and took an interest in an up-and-coming naval officer named Thrawn. He worked with the alien in a successful campaign to stop a rebel insurgent codenamed Night Swan. Their cooperation led to Thrawn's promotion to Grand Admiral. The Chiss was sent to hunt down and eliminate a rebel cell in the Lothal sector alongside ISB agent Kallus, but over time Kallus lost his taste for the Empire and began helping his former enemies. Yularen and Thrawn again worked together to unmask and eventually capture the defector, although he was able to escape to the rebels shortly after. Yularen remained a high-ranking officer of the Empire until the creation of the Death Star. He was present on board the station for Grand Moff Tarkin's announcement that the Imperial Senate had been dissolved, and died shortly after in the superweapon's destruction at the hands of Luke Skywalker. You can watch most of his story in both animated series The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, where he is voiced by Tom Kane. The novel Thrawn by Timothy Zahn details his story with the Grand Admiral. It's great that Zahn got to write him, by the way. One of my favorite interview questions to ask people is who their favorite minor characters are, and Timothy Zahn once told me Yularen was his favorite.
But do you have a favorite, background Star Wars character?
Probably Yularen.
Yeah?
He's just very quietly competent and, does his job, smart, not particularly flamboyant, not inclined to choke people, just knows what he's doing.
He is smart, not a glory seeker, and he's competent, which isn't something we get to see a lot in large-scale Star Wars stories, and that's part of the reason I think Yularen is important to Andor. The Empire can be treated like a bit of a joke at times, like Admiral Titus in Star Wars Rebels, who is demoted over the course of the series for his several failures, or Admiral Ozzel, who is as clumsy as he is stupid. And I'm not bashing that portrayal of the Empire. I think it depends on the story and the themes being presented. There is certainly a time and a place for the bumbling side of the Empire. But Andor is not that place. We have seen such a progression of danger over the course of the first 7 episodes. The Empire is barely even mentioned in the first arc. We're dealing with corporate security underlings, but their failure grabs the attention of the ISB, and then Cassian is off on Aldhani and we get the most terrifying version of the TIE Fighter we've ever seen, a ship which, again, in some stories can be treated like it's a dime a dozen. We're getting pulled further and further into the inner workings of the Empire along with Cassian. We're getting to feel the walls close in around the characters, and we should be afraid of them. Even the most bumbling Imperial character, I would consider that to be J-Hold, has an edge to him. Introducing Wullf Yularen back into live-action storytelling, having him mention meeting with Emperor Palpatine, it's a very natural next step in the progression of danger. It's done without the audience having to know all about him. Nobody needs to know he served alongside Anakin in the Clone Wars. We can see that he commands the attention of everyone in the ISB, and he speaks to the Emperor personally. This guy is the real deal. More and more high-ranking Imperials are taking note of what Cassian has done. They're starting to crack down, and I think it inadvertently leads to his arrest on Neamos, although I prefer fans calling it Planet Florida. Anyway, that's where we see even more Imperial progression with Shore Troopers and the KX droids. So that's one reason Yularen is important. He continues to illustrate the competency and terror of Imperial oppression and retaliation after Aldhani, which leads me to my next point, because I was disappointed to see Yularen having that philosophy. To be clear, I think it's good for the story. I'm disappointed in Yularen himself as a person. Not long ago in one of our Q&A videos, we were asked about Yularen and if we thought he would show up. I said I thought it was unlikely, and I'm glad to have been proven wrong there. I figured Major Partagaz would take the ISB leadership role because I didn't know if they would go all in on Yularen being a full-on Imperial fascist. And then I kinda realized I was holding Yularen up on a pedestal. We got to know him in the Clone Wars series, and he was a man of honor. He was one of the good guys. Surely he wouldn't completely lose his way within the Empire, would he? Fans, again myself included, even saw it as a bit of a tragedy that he died on the Death Star because we wanted to believe he was still good. But the more I talked through it, the more I was like, no, if Yularen was at that conference table in A New Hope after 19 years of Imperial service, if he stayed with the Empire after Order 66 and not only served, but thrived, then I think his portrayal in Andor is exactly how it should have been, asking the room how tightly they should close their fist on the galaxy, making sure everyone knows the consequences of standing up to the Empire. He is fully existing in the ruling through fear mindset. So, for people who know Yularen's history, I think we're seeing how the Empire can ruin good people. We don't know his immediate reaction to Order 66 or Palpatine proclaiming himself Emperor. Maybe he did struggle with it all. I would like to think he did. Maybe he thought he could still do some good if he were part of the Imperial machine. However it started, we now know his ending point, and he is just as bad as every other Imperial. Maybe even worse, because we know he is competent. He's a believer in the philosophy, and he's good at his job. That's a bad combination. This all makes his service alongside Anakin Skywalker rather poetic, because his story is also about how good people can fall. Now when we look back at their time together in the Clone Wars, we can very clearly see two people who once fought for good that were both eventually corrupted by Palpatine and his Empire. And we can see a similar story with Grand Admiral Thrawn, who agreed to work with the Emperor to ensure safety and security for his home, the Chiss Ascendancy. Making a deal with the devil never works out the way characters hope it will. So yeah, I'm not mad at you, Wullf Yularen, I'm just disappointed. But still, it was cool to see him in live action for real this time, with lines and everything. I lit up the second I saw his name written in the subtitles, before we even saw him on screen. I think they saved him for the right moment to keep building up the threat of the Empire, and they used him well to continue exploring the moral complexities of the series and what it means to serve an organization like the Imperial Security Bureau. But that's it for today. Let me know what you thought of seeing Wullf Yularen again in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for all our Andor coverage, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram, and consider checking out our Patreon page for our video reactions and audio commentaries for every new episode. And you can check out this playlist for all of our existing Andor content. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.